1 year after the devastating Palisades Fire, residents gathered in Pacific Palisades to mark the anniversary with a public rally. Survivors and community members called for accountability, reflecting ongoing frustration as recovery, rebuilding, and legal efforts continue across the burn area.
Over half of that? Is that right? But he told us in this story. I'm not taking my sign. They tried to your house. Years we had it just broke the leg. And every day I go, oh my God. We pulled that. It's very important to me to affect Santa Monica, so I want to get these perspective here and hopefully share these voices.
All right. So listen, why are we here today?
Because they let it burn.
Truth? They let us burn?
They let us burn.
They let us burn? They let us burn? They let us burn? They did. They let us burn. And you know what? We're not going to stay down. That's not going to happen. So let me tell you what's going to happen today. We've got about 12 speakers. I'm going to kick it off. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell you about their accountability. We're going to tell you about the 10 steps that we believe that we can take to build this thing back. And then at the end, we're going to hold them accountable. They need to be transparent and accountable. The days of gaslighting should be over. Yes. Am I right? Yes. I want you to raise your hand if you lost your home in this fire. Keep your hands up. Keep them up. I want you to raise your hand if your home is toxic and it's standing. Keep them up. Everybody, keep your hands up. I want your hand to be up whether your home is burned or whether it's toxic. Now, I want you to put your hand up if you ever lived in the Palisades and your home was burned or toxic. All of us. Yeah, that's what I expected. We're a deeply affected group of people. We have been through a lot this year, and our leadership has not made it easy. So are we ready? Are we ready to kick this off? I'm gonna put my glasses on because otherwise I can't see, because 52 years old does that to somebody. All right, so here we go. Brace yourself. All right, we the people are here right now in Pacific Palisades, California, and I'm 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡, citizen. This is an old school protest demonstrating the foundation of American democracy, popular sovereignty, and the very idea that government exists to serve the people. Amen. We the people. We the people. We the people. We the people. Elected leaders are not monarchs. They're not rock stars, and they're not deities. Elected leaders work for us. California leadership at the city and state level failed. They let us burn 1 year ago in ineptitude, gross negligence, lack of proper planning, lack of resources, lack of people, and purposeful policy that let it burn. And today we rise like a phoenix. The Palisades dolphin is no longer blue. We are red, orange, and gold, the color of fire. You did this to us, leadership. This is our origin story. But before we tell you that story and list our 10 demands for the rebuild, we called them imperatives, but they're really demands, let's be honest. You must know we're not here on ideological grounds. Shocker, this is not a political rally. This is not about party politics. Party politics at the local level should sit in the back seat while operational excellence drives the bus, okay? So if you consider yourself a Republican, and you consider yourself a Democrat, or you consider yourself an independent, let's put that in our back pocket today, because this is about operational excellence. What truly matters when you're a city council person or a mayor or a governor is the following: can you do your job or not? In our case, the answer is a resounding no. Today we will speak the truth to power. We will provide a vision for the rebuild of the Palisades. Today we will hold leadership regardless of party to a high standard of operational excellence, and to remind them that there are consequences when they fail to act with transparency, accountability, and without vision. So, what happened? What happened, guys? Yeah, that summarizes it. That's a pretty good summary. That's a good summary. The good news, America, is that so many things have to go terribly wrong to burn down a city. It just doesn't happen with one or two things. It's like an airplane, a commercial airline times 10. There's a lot that has to go wrong, okay? The bad news is that both sides botched this, as Mayor Bass stated on podcast last month, and then attempted to delete. She's quite good at deleting things, hold that thought. Our unnatural disaster started 6 days prior to 1/7. The state failed to put out the origination fire called the 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡 fire. Anybody aware of that one? Yes. On state grounds on 1/1 due to protected plants, the milk vetch plant. Does anybody know what that is?
No.
Do you have a milk vetch in your home?
No.
Raise your hand if you have a milk vetch in your house. Not yeah. I don't have one either. I don't have a house. All right, that's fair. Raise your hand. I'm not going to do that. All right. What is a milk vetch? It's a shrub. Shrubs are weeds. Ironically, they're known to thrive after fires. Go freaking figure, right? The state chose plants over people in their confidential, quote, wildfire management plan for Topanga State Park, designating, quote, avoidance areas where basic fire protocol wasn't allowed regardless of the risk to human beings. That's you and me. That initial fire sat for 6 days without proper attention, no fire retardant from above, no mudding to get under the brush, no thermal imaging, and limited observation. That is what they call the very basics of putting out a fire.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, I feel the same way. Firefighters texted, quote, the rocks are hot to the touch and the tree stumps are smoldering. City firefighters were directed to leave despite these warnings. The city and state secretly left us to die. Do you feel that way?
Yes.
Does that seem like an over-exaggeration to you?
No.
People did die.
Am I demonstrating hyperbole? Did we just not have a memorial over here celebrating people who passed away as a result of their incompetence?
Yes.
Yeah. If the fire had occurred 12 hours earlier, I don't know how many of us would be here to speak truth to power. Would hundreds have died? Would thousands have died? It's possible. That's the stakes that we're talking about. One thing is absolutely certain. On my drive out of the Palisades, oh man, emotional. Excuse me. One thing is certain. On my drive out of the Palisades at 3 p.m. on January 7th, 2025, there wasn't an organized attempt to get individuals to leave their homes in an orderly fashion. Did you notice any organized attempt to get you out of your place? There were no sirens. There were no bullhorns. There was no authority figures on the streets begging, prompting, pulling people from their homes. There were no sounds of urgency. We drove down Swarthmore onto Sunset, without passing a single emergency vehicle or hearing a singular alarm. From what I experienced, there was almost no support in the middle of the day. So you tell me what this would look like at 3 a.m. You tell me. This happened at 3 p.m. At 3 a.m., I want you to raise your hand if you think your life would have been in danger. And they ask us why we're here today. They ask us why we have feelings, why we might be holding and speaking truth to power today. I'll tell you why. Because they almost killed us. Listen, what's on the line here is death. It's not just your home. It's not just your financial being. It's your life. Later, we found out there was no water in the reservoir. 117 million gallon Santa Ynez Reservoir emptied because of a ripped cover that would have originally cost $85,000 according to emails to fix. Despite as much as $500 million in annual Palisades taxes paid in the system, Los Angeles allowed the Santa Ynez to sit empty for 18 months. And why do we need a cover on a 117 million gallon reservoir? For what was planned as a fire safety reservoir in the 1970s. Because our true 6 million gallon drinking reservoir, the Palisades Reservoir, was previously removed from service and also empty. We had two reservoirs, both empty, one for drinking water, one for fire. They decided to take them down at the exact same time.
They're still empty, Jeremy. They're still empty.
Yeah, they're still empty.
And you're talking about LID.
And I mean, how about that? I mean, how does that make you feel? You guys happy? So, because of our true 6 million gallon drinking reservoir, the Palisades Reservoir was previously removed from service and also empty. Our leadership is inept and they are cheap. We put a lot of money out there, we get a little bit of services back. As, you know, look, my house burned that night without any support or assistance. The fire hydrant in front of our home untouched, zero evidence of anyone offering to help. I guess it's tough to battle a fire with no reservoir and empty or low pressure fire hydrants. But take a look at that building over there. Rick Caruso's entire 4-acre commercial complex, smack dab in the center of the fire, survived in entirety. Why? Because they had a little bit of precaution, 10,000 gallons of water, that's half of a pool. Raise your hand if you had a pool in your backyard. I don't know. That seems like a lot of people that could have been helped. Okay, I'm looking at somebody right now, he's sort of tall. He helped save his own home. Look at him. I see you, Richard. Yeah, look, There are people out there that saved their own homes and neighbors' homes with pool water and buckets. And they ask us why we're upset. And they ask us why we have a beef. And they ask us, why do we say they let it burn? Give me a break. Where was the mayor? Yeah. Ghana. Ghana on a cultural mission in the middle of the dry season after some of the wettest weather we've had in the face of Santa Ana winds, a fire department at 30-year staffing lows, no reservoir. On January 3rd, the city's emergency management department sent emails to leadership warning of critical fire conditions. On January 4th, Mayor Bass left to Ghana. Now, guess what? We got deputy mayors. Deputy mayors are good, right? Where was the deputy mayor of public safety? Brian K. Williams was placed on administrative leave in December of 2024. Why? Because on October 3rd, 2024, Williams called in a bomb threat against the Los Angeles City Hall due to support of Israel on Rosh Hashanah. Look, I'm not here to say anything about religion. I'm not here to say there's one group that's better than the other, because there's not. We're all human beings. We all bleed the same color. But guess what? That individual certainly felt something that day. Was he charged with a hate crime? No. He got 1 year probation, 50 hours of community service, and a $5,000 fine after pleading guilty and claiming it was all because of anxiety. Our mayor appointed leader of public safety. So what do you do as a leader when your head of public safety is gone? She left a known threat. Mayor Bass, deputy mayor, had been terminated. The team must have been in total shambles. You can't tell me there was a plan. The city rolled the dice and we lost, and the state rolled the dice and we lost again. We can't review Mayor Bass' text messages the day of the fire, because despite the LA Times requesting text just days after the fire, Bass placed the text on 30-day auto delete. Oopsies. Innocent people don't erase texts.
That's right. Tell it.
Innocent people do not erase texts. Right? Immediately after the fire, Bass and Newsom began the gaslighting, misdirection, and lies tour in the most coordinated and immediate effort. That was an act of nature. Smiling, by the way, smiling. Is anybody sick of this smiling? This was an act of nature. This was an act of God. This was an act of human-created climate change. This was because you have too many plants in your yard. This was because you use the wrong building materials. This was because of you. This, according to Newsom and Bass, this had nothing to do with their choices. This had nothing to do with their policies or mistakes or leadership. Newsom and Bass stood approximately right around here on 1/8 with no fire support as the city literally burned around them. Anybody seen those photos? Buildings catching on fire, smoke billowing as they walked around with no action at all. It burned around them. 100%. I believe humans impact the world around us. Okay? Raise your hand if you think that humans impact the world around us. I'm not saying you have to sign up for any particular theology or ideology, okay? Listen, I believe humans affect the world around us. We're sitting in the middle of concrete. This was not what God put here in the origination, okay? But guess what? That was not the reason we burned down that day. All right. Most of us believe that. You're talking about a bunch of Californians here, okay? If Newsom and Bass truly believed in climate change, would we really have such a low priority on our emergency response?
Yes.
No. Would we really have our fire department at 30-year staffing lows?
No.
Would we have no prevention precaution on the day of the fire?
No.
Would we have no brush cleared?
No.
Here's the answer. There's no conviction, okay? Conviction is about what you say and what you do, both. Say and do. And here we had a failure of do. There was no do here. So Bass then claimed that this was the fastest cleanup of all time. Here we are 1 year later with less than 5% of homes permitted and less than 5% of burned out lots sold. That's 90% ambiguity. How about this? How about this? Raise your hand if you have any ambiguity when it comes to your home, burnt out home, condo, or anything else. Any ambiguity whatsoever, raise your hand. Yeah, that's what I figured. I talked to the Army Corps of Engineers. I congratulated them. I even fell for it a little bit, saying BASS was helpful. And the response from the foreperson was, listen to me, the Army Corps has absolutely nothing to do with your mayor. We're a federal government agency. So many lies, so much misdirection. Why? Well, while all of those things may be true, there are two reasons that stand out. Number one, to avoid massive litigation. They don't want to have to pay you. They don't want to have to write a check to you. Even if you're not here today, they don't want to write a check to you, here or not. Number two, they want to avoid a stain on Bass's re-election campaign and on Newsom's presidential run. Oh, I see you feel a certain way.
Good luck.
And you know what's interesting? This is not a crowd of Republicans, and it's not a crowd necessarily of Democrats or independents. We're human beings today. We're Americans. 100%. All right. We must hold our parties to higher standards. All of us. If the only plan is to attack the other side, then your side acts with impunity, and that's what occurred here. They're acting with impunity. That's a rough way to treat the people that put you in office. I'm a toy maker. I bring people together through their imagination, through play, shared experiences. I'm not an advocate. I'm not political. They opened my eyes. They did this to us. They burned us down, and this is our origin story. All of us. After the fire and the gaslighting, many of us removed all the hats, not red, not blue. I've written 75 articles on PacificPalisades.com. I hope that was hopeful. I hope that was helpful. Citizen journalism helps unravel crimes. Spencer's here. They help with cover-ups and motives that will lead to transparency, redemption, and remuneration. We can sit back, hold hands, and take it, or we can fight back together on operational grounds, not ideological grounds. We can fight back on independent grounds. We can hold our own party to what they owe us, which is at the very, very least accountability, transparency, and honesty. Okay. Hold yourselves to a higher standard and do not accept lies. The failure of 1/7/25 cuts us deeply, but the gaslighting and lies since have greatly aggravated that wound. 1 year later, post-fire lot values have declined 30 to 40%. Insurers have been presented limited vision, and our city and state have acted opportunistically with punishing and confusing ordinances after ordinances after ordinances, furthering gaslighting that somehow this is our fault. It's not. The governor called us opportunists. He calls us opportunistic plaintiffs. We're opportunistic because it's our fault. In fact, the mayor yesterday called me a profiteer. Well, it hurt my feelings. I mean, sorry, I'm smiling. It hurt my feelings because, well, it didn't. It did not hurt my feelings. Listen, when people look at you and say something to you, it's only as valuable as the source. Okay? Being called a profiteer, I paid $40,000 for this. Okay? We did not accept any external money. There's one gentleman that provided signage we really much appreciated. That was purposeful. We want to be conflict free. Okay? And frankly speaking, my insurance was good. So I'm saying that to you because I want you to know if it wasn't, I don't know. Maybe somebody else would have needed to step in. But there you go. So does that sound like a profiteer to you? No. I didn't feel like one. One side holds all the information, blames and punishes the other. That is an unhealthy relationship. We're not opportunistic plaintiffs. We're the actual definition of victim. That's who we are. But guess what? We're also survivors. And you know what? in my experience, there's a lot of victims out there. I'm sure a lot of you have been victimized in your life, and you're standing here today, which makes you a survivor. That's who we are. We are survivors. That's the reason why we are dolphin blue, but we're also red and gold. We are a product of fire. We the people are harmed, we the people are determined, and we the people are united. We the people have a vision for the rebuild. The vision will maximize the percentage of our community that returns. We want every single resident who desires to return to the Pacific Palisades to have that opportunity. So what is our vision? 10 things, call them 10 imperatives, call them 10 demands. Steve, thank you for being here to listen to us today. You know what? There's not a lot of people that came here. There's not a lot of people that even reached out to us. The fact that you're here to hear these demands means in case that you are elected, at least you listened. So the first 4 demands fall under the concept of disaster profiteering, where the city benefits tremendously from the burn, a diabolical concept, and worse, the city and state will disaster profiteer to the tune of $10 billion, and I'll lay that out for you right now. Here are the 10 imperatives. Number 1, no sales tax on the rebuild. It's going to cost us $20 billion to rebuild the Palisades out of your pocket, out of your insurers' pockets, and another $15 billion to rebuild Altadena and also Malibu. Thank you, Shauna, for being here. She says 22. That's a lot of money. That's roughly $40 billion at 10% tax. I'm pretty good at math. That's $4 billion into the coffers of state and local government. When they burned us down, that sounds like the definition of disaster profiteering to me. They don't deserve that money, and we shouldn't have to pay it. We want our people to move back. It's wrong. And include Malibu. God knows what the number is.
A lot.
Number 2, no permitting fees on the rebuild. It's been a year. It's been a year. Tracy Park, who's here, sat up and scolded the city council and the person who's in the finance side of it because they had no plan. They had no understanding of how much the money is. You know what? I'll estimate it's about $500 million. We shouldn't have to pay that. They burned us down. Number 3, no property tax on dwelling until we're holding certificates of occupancy. Right now, the city's assessing property tax as if we are speculators on our own burned out lots. They will charge us. Yeah, that's crazy, right? Yeah, it's wrong. God, it's wrong. It's profiteering. All right, so they're going to charge us for the assessed value of the lot, okay, plus the percentage of the dwelling rebuild as of January 1st of each year. So if on January 1st, 2027, your dwelling is 40% built, you're going to pay 40% in taxes for the dwelling value plus the lot. You feel good about that?
No.
That's because it's wrong. In fact, it's wrong to charge us anything for the land or dwelling when the city and state are so culpable. Moreover, after the burn area is built back, tax revenues will be at an all-time high. All new homes, likely 40 to 50% sold to new homeowners. That is on your own back because they're not letting you come back. It will be a tax boon. Suck it up today, city and state, because you're going to have a lot of money coming in. Number 4, a ULA holiday for 5 years. ULA disproportionately impacts those who must move. I know that it's been positioned as a tax on people who have very expensive homes. Let me tell you something. Do you think these speculators are going to come in and accept less margin? Or do you think they're going to impute that upon the person who's selling the lot? Yes, it's going to be the lot. So if your lot was worth X, now it's worth X minus whatever the ULA tax is because they're charging you. The speculator, the builder's charging you. Okay? So don't believe that you're getting away with it just because your house is not worth X number of dollars. It is a bad, bad law. Yes. Number 5, now we're leaving the world of profiteering and entering into the things that we need. And by the way, these are 10 imperatives. There's probably 20. I just have enough time for 10. Number 5, police in Palisades Station. The Pacific Palisades didn't have a police force prior to the fire. We had 1 car on loan from LAPD. I'd go days without seeing a single officer. You guys see an officer every day in the Palisades? When our home was robbed in 2018, we caught it in progress on cameras. 47 minutes later, the police showed up. Not acceptable. No Palisades police for over 25,000 citizens is ridiculous. Brush clearance. Number 6, we need a clear plan. We need this for our own insurance. We need this for our own peace of mind. Number 7, budget transparency. Los Angeles doesn't provide budget transparency or how many dollars Pacific Palisades pays into the budget or how many dollars we receive in services. Does that seem like a problem to you? Yes. Does that seem like a victim-victimizer kind of relationship? Yes. It does to me. We estimate that our payment into the system is up to $500 million annually in property tax. We don't have $85,000 to fix a reservoir, and I almost cursed, but I didn't. We don't have $5,000 to fix potholes. Again, classic victimizer-victim relationship. One side holds all the cards, and that must end. Number 8. Love that. Number 8, electrical undergrounding, bury the lines now. We burn down, and above-ground electrical power lines are a menace. This isn't just an eyesore. We're not just complaining. We put a lot of money into the system, and we're happy that others are sharing in that. Bury our lines. They help perpetuate this fire. Number 9, evacuation planning. As I mentioned, there was no plan on 1/7. It was an absolute debacle. I want to raise your hand if you thought it was a debacle that day. I would say that that is pretty darn close to 90%. I don't think I've ever seen 90% of people agree on anything. Okay, and then finally, insurance planning. If you believe our leadership, they say insurance is tough because of climate change or weather or because insurers are acting unscrupulously. Here's the truth. Every region of the United States has weather. The Midwest has tornadoes. The East Coast snow. The South heavy rains, Florida coast up to New York hurricanes. The last I saw, there is no difference with California. Insurers have left at least partially because our leadership accepts zero accountability. Insurers simply cannot work with someone who isn't willing to learn from their mistakes, or they charge a lot more, which is coming. Moreover, we're up against the insurance lobby, and they're formidable. The insurance lobby is powerful, they are tough, and I don't know. I've never met one. I don't know if I'd like them or not, but at least we have to deal with them with integrity. The fewer insurers who are willing to compete, the worse it gets for all of us. And here's an 11th demand. Settle the lawsuit. This will be the largest court action against a grossly negligent municipality of all time. Either way, you're gonna lose. Either way, Bass and Newsom, you're going to lose.
Show us the money.
With settlement, you work with the people. Settle claims and work towards resolving go-forward issues like electrical undergrounding, insurance challenges. Without settlement, you work against the people. Fight those who you victimized. Call them profiteers, for instance. Yeah, and work against their long-term good. And you know what? This is going to go down as the most extensive leadership failure in the history of the United States of America. Correct. So it's simple. It is never too late to do the right thing, ever. Accountability, remuneration. My brother tells me I say it wrong every time. Vision, collaboration, that's what we the people of the Pacific Palisades are asking for. And that's echoed across the burn scar, your burn scar. Today, you're going to hear the Palisades residents' destroyed homes, condos, Palisades mobile bowl estates, standing homes, wrought with toxins. You'll hear from local merchants, lead attorneys in our trial against the city, former heads of law enforcement for Los Angeles. You'll hear from our friends in Altadena, from advocates, business people, and politicians. And we have all one thing in common, and what is that?
Let us burn.
What is that?
They let us burn.
And we're coming back. Yes. So, all right. So we have a lot of people here who are very, very passionate, and they're going to come up and talk one by one. I think the first person I'm going to bring up is Miriam Engel. And Miriam reached out to me after seeing the PacificPalisades.com and said, "Hey, would you like to be a part of a rally?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." Miriam has been a whirlwind coordinating the hard parts of this event while I had the easy part of writing checks and working with speakers. Professionally, Miriam is a media network senior producer and bureau chief. Please give Miriam a big round of applause.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for your partnership and thank you for your generosity. We couldn't have done this without you. Thank you all for showing up with your voices. Thank you all for showing up with your voices. Thank you for showing up with your hearts today. We named this demonstration, They Let Us Burn, not only because the Palisades Fire was a preventable disaster, but because, okay, I'll try to speak as loud as Jeremy, sorry. Okay. We named this demonstration, They Let Us Burn, not only because the Palisades Fire was a preventable disaster, but because our community has continued to be burned long after the flames went out. For the past year, survivors have been burned again and again by a lack of transparency, accountability, and real support from the institutions meant to protect us. No one in the Palisades has come out of this unscathed. Families are emotionally exhausted and financially crushed. Our lives have been upended, our neighbors and friends are scattered, and dignity has been stripped away in the struggle to rebuild. That is what this moment is about. They let us burn. And let me be clear, this is not a partisan issue. We are upset with our local and state leaders, but we are also disappointed by the federal government. Federal aid for fire survivors is being stalled while billions are approved to go abroad. If this administration believes in America first, then Los Angeles should not be last. Now, I'd like to take a moment to give a shout out to some heroes of mine. The morning after the fire, on January 8th, as my husband and I fought to put flames out on our property, a yellow truck pulled up and 3 guys jumped out and started helping us. There was only a dribble of water coming out of our garden hose, but those men helped save our home. We learned they worked with Councilwoman Tracy Park, and they were dispatched to help residents however they could. One of them, 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡, gave me his personal cell number and continued to communicate with us for days. The winds were strong and we were anxious. But every time he drove by our house, Sean texted, "Don't worry, your home is still standing." When the winds died down, he helped us try to find housing. That is an example of the kind of empathy and leadership we needed. So for us, this is not about left versus right. This is about right versus wrong. We'll give credit where credit is due. The voices you'll hear from today reflect a range of experiences, but they share one truth. This is a unified community calling for accountability, honesty, and reform. Thank you for standing with us today.
Okay, so Tracy Park has joined us. And I think that it's so appropriate that the people that we elected show up for something like this, right? Tracy, I think a lot of people feel oh, did the mic go out? It's back. Tracy, I think a lot of people feel positive about you, and you've heard a lot of tough things today, but you stand there and you heard it all and you listened, which is more than I can say for a lot of other folks, okay? So Tracy, come on up here and take the mic.
Thank you, Jeremy, and thank you all for being here today. You're welcome. You're welcome. You know, there were some folks who didn't want me to come here today. There were some folks who didn't think this was the right way for me to spend my time today. But you know what? I'm looking around and what I see are victims of the worst tragedy in our city's history. And what I see are people and families who continue to need our help. What happened on January 7th was catastrophic failure, and to pretend otherwise is just insulting. You did not imagine what happened, and you are right to be angry. I personally did not lose my home and my entire community last January 7th, but I did bear witness to what happened to yours. It wasn't an act of nature. It wasn't some storm of the century, and it wasn't climate change, and don't let anybody try to tell you otherwise. It was decades of ignoring warnings and obvious risks, adding more and more density without adequate evacuation routes or infrastructure, failing to adequately fund public safety and emergency management, an unmitigated fuel load that exploded like a bomb, botched evacuations that created chaos and even more destruction, dry hydrants, an empty reservoir, and our firefighters left helpless to fight fire without water. On January 8th, we were on the ground in the Pacific Palisades putting out fire with dirt because there was no water on the day that we needed our infrastructure and our systems to work. The one day in history we needed our systems to work, and they failed us all. What led us here was years of taking shortcuts and fixing structural problems with Band-Aids and duct tape. And we still don't have answers. Investigations that drag on without transparency are not acceptable, and you deserve the truth. So keep showing up, keep demanding answers, and keep demanding accountability.
Yes.
What you all are asking for going forward is basic, it is reasonable, and we shouldn't have to beg our government to make this right. Of course, your permit fees should be waived, and no, you shouldn't have to pay sales tax on your rebuilds. Yes, you need a police substation and more fire safety personnel too. Of course, we deserve an enforceable brush clearance plan. In fact, why isn't there already one in effect? It is a miracle that no one died in that evacuation, and it's even worse because the gridlock and choke points were already known from prior emergencies. So when you ask for more comprehensive evacuation planning, that is actually not enough. Your town is gone. Developers are circling like vultures looking to profit by adding density. We have to be so very careful as we rebuild your future. We have to stick together in demanding that safety and adequate modern infrastructure are able to support whatever comes next. We cannot let Sacramento or City Hall turn the Palisades into a policy sandbox where safety is sacrificed for ideology. Friends, your fight is my fight. I am your advocate, and my goal is to get you home. So let's take this anger and let's end this culture of half-assed solutions. Let's set new standards for responsible development. Let's value our police and firefighters with the resources they and we deserve. And let's demand that our government spend our money wisely. That's what you deserve, and I am proud to stand shoulder and shoulder with you in the fight to get it.
I'd say that's comforting.
But we need action.
I mean, that's the first time I smiled. I imagine a lot of you felt the same way. You know, we deserve a moment to take a deep breath. You know, we deserve that. I got to tell you, it's been a long year, right? So here we go. Now I'm going to introduce someone who is such a sparkling jewel of a human being. Okay, Jamie Geller.
Woo! Yeah, Jamie!
You know what? I didn't need my glasses. What the heck? I read the whole speech with my glasses. Jamie Geller is a Palisades resident. Never mind, I didn't. A Palisades resident. She is a proprietor. In fact, her store was right there. It's gone. Jamie Geller Jewelry has served the Palisades for as long as I can remember, bringing joy to so many. Jamie, Mike, and their 3 children lost their home in the fire, and it should have never, ever happened. So Jamie, we love you, and we can't wait to hear from you. So come on up. Oh, you're right there.
Yeah, Jamie. Love you. You got it, babe.
Got this.
Yeah, girl.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jamie Geller, and I'm a Palisades resident and business owner. And I'm honored to be here today. I just want to say how proud I am of this community for coming together and showing up for one another after this preventable tragedy. There is no place I would rather live, and it's not because of the beautiful views and climate. It's because of our incredible community, and we will be back. Obviously, it will take time and it will be different, but we will be back. Like so many of you, my family and I lost our home and our business in the Palisades Fire, and like most of us here, we have spent the past year fighting just to try to understand what our futures look like. Beyond the loss of our community, our belongings, and our income, the hardest part of this grief is the loss of our sense of stability. If we were in the Palisades, as far as I'm concerned, we were living the dream. This was it. We made it. Whether we were here because our families have been here for generations and we managed to hold on and stick around, or whether we moved here recently, we all worked so hard to make the Palisades our home. And all of that stability burned down with our town. This tragedy was preventable, and that is why we are all here today. We are here to hold our city, state, and federal government accountable for letting this fire burn down almost 7,000 structures and damage more than 1,000 more. For letting 12 human beings die during the fire, and countless others pass away in the months that followed due to the stress and heartbreak. Not to mention the unknown number of pets lost, not to mention the trauma we are all living every day. I am here because the biggest lesson I learned in this experience is that it doesn't matter where you live or what you pay in taxes. There is a huge flaw in our government, and it is time for that to change. I remember when Hurricane Katrina came and our government did nothing, and we all thought, oh, it's because it's a low-income area, so our government doesn't care about them. I remember when the Camp Fire happened up north and all those people died and our government did nothing, and we thought, oh, it's because it's in the middle of nowhere, in the mountains somewhere. And I remember the Lahaina fire, and our government did nothing, and we thought, oh, it's a land grab. And I remember when Woolsey happened, and the government did nothing, so my friends formed the community brigade to fight for themselves, because they knew in a fire they're left on their own. And I thought they were exaggerating, I thought they were nuts, and then it happened to us. A large, affluent, easily accessible town full of important people, and they abandoned us too. So I am here to do all I can to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. I'm here to speak loudly and make sure everyone knows it can happen to them too. Our government is not going to save you or help you build back after a disaster. This is not a right versus a left issue. This is about an inherent flaw in our entire government, And we, the tax-paying people, are paying a price, and so now we are demanding change. For the last 365 days, our government has finger-pointed and blame-gamed, lied and covered their own butts, leaving us to rebuild our lives with zero leadership, zero clarity, zero truth, zero hope, and zero meaningful help. As Palisadians, we collectively pay an enormous amount in taxes. Google told me just over $222 million per year in property tax alone. Add in income tax, sales tax, business tax, and the infamous ULA tax. We are talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even $1 billion a year, and we did not receive the most basic services that could have protected us from the level of damage that this fire caused. Our insurance commissioner failed to act, and the insurance companies dropped us. And so many of us were forced to sign up with the government's unfair plan. Which I could talk about all day, but Jeremy told me to keep my speech 4 to 5 minutes. Our mayor cut the LAFD budget by $17.6 million and then left the country knowing an extreme wind event was headed our way. Despite the astronomical rates we pay to the DWP, our firefighting reservoirs were left empty for years due to a tear in an unrepaired cover, and yes, they are still empty. Our state government did not properly maintain the brush in their own state parks surrounding our town, while residents are fined if we fail to clear brush on our own properties. Our own state park manual prioritized the milk vetch plant over people and homes, directing the LAFD to abandon the Lockman fire, allowing it to burn underground and reignite and literally let us burn. Our evacuation system failed. There were no traffic controllers, no coordinated light systems, just gridlock. So people like me had to abandon our cars and run for our lives. Our water tanks, separate from the reservoirs, ran dry by Tuesday night, and so much of our town burned down on Wednesday, January 8th. I find it ridiculous that private firefighters were able to bring in trucks full of water, but our government couldn't figure out how to get the water and resources needed to fight the fire by the second day. Many of the homes still standing here are only because homeowners thought swiftly and figured out ways to fight the fire on their own. Yeah, Richard Jennings. But that fight, that day of the fire, was only the beginning of the fight we have all endured for the last year. We have been relentlessly fighting our insurance companies to pay out our policies. We had to fight price gouging for our rental homes. We had to fight for a safe phase 1 environmental cleanup when the Environmental Protection Agency thought the most toxic of toxic debris should be sorted at the ocean during the rain. We had to fight SB 9, SB 549, and SB 79, all bills that would increase the population density in our decimated town without increasing the road infrastructure, so in the next evacuation, more people will inevitably die. We have had to fight our mortgage companies for the mortgage forbearance we were promised, but few of us received. We had to fight to get our lots cleared. Whether you went private or opted in for the Army Corps, we had to fight to get it done in a timely and efficient manner. And we will, I'm sure, be fighting the city in the future to repair the ruined roads from the debris removal trucks, because they will undoubtedly be taxing us for that. We have had to fight the looters and the squatters that came in to take advantage of the empty homes. We have had to fight for the promised waived permit fees, which weren't actually waived. We had to fight to get our rebuild permits at all, especially if, God forbid, we wanted to add more than 10% to our home. We had to fight to remove the fire engine theme at the new playground at the Palisades Park.
Still there.
And meanwhile, while we are fighting to rebuild our new lives in or out of the Palisades, our government has just been covering up and going in circles and blaming each other for their incompetence and failures while we pay the price. Enough is enough. Jeremy's demand list is good, really logical and really positive and really fair. We are here to demand our leaders stop fighting amongst themselves, stop blaming other departments, stop protecting their own asses, and start protecting ours. It's actually their job, and we pay for that protection. We deserve better. Thank you.
Jamie, you got me crying over there. I realize I don't have the power to make people cry. I just rile you up. But I felt it, man. Okay, so next, Heidi Montag.
Yeah, Heidi.
So Heidi is a resident, an actress, a musician, a podcaster, an advocate. Rose to fame quite a long time ago, and yet you're still so current,
Yeah,
which
Heidi.
is so hard in today's society, right? She became one of the most recognizable names on TV, bold, unapologetic, and endlessly entertaining. You know, evolved from headline makers to entrepreneurs to creators and cultural mainstays, both of you guys. So I'm gonna introduce Heidi, and then next, someone else that you know that's related to Heidi.
Yeah.
All right, Heidi, come on up.
Yeah, Heidi.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for inviting me here, and to everybody who came here and showed up. I wish we were all it's gonna be hard, gathered here for different circumstances. I wish I was here dropping off my kids at school, seeing you all at the grocery store, not marking the 1-year anniversary that changed all of our lives. Looking at your face, I don't just see my neighbors. I see people who we literally walked through the fire with. 1 year ago, we lost our peace. We lost our sanctuary. We lost the place that we felt was the safest in the world. For me, our home wasn't just a home. It was a place where we brought our babies home. It was the place I rocked them to sleep and dreaming of the years where I would raise my children, the same place where my husband grew up and had so many amazing memories of his own. It was our forever. It was where we wanted to be forever. It was where we wanted to raise our children. And to see all of our dreams go up in flames, it wasn't just a tragedy. It's a heartbreak that stays with me every night. I remember the feeling of absolute disbelief and powerlessness as the fire approached on January 7th. Looking at my children and realizing that the one place that was meant to keep them safe might be gone forever. As much as that day was about the fire, today is why that fire was allowed and why they let us burn. Because the truth is, my family and yours were all failed. Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass will tell you the Palisades Fire was an unprecedented act of nature, but nature didn't maintain the California state parks. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable what they let happen. It's unacceptable that 12 people died that day. People who lost their lives. We need accountability. We demand accountability. All of us are owed that, and our children are owed that. That they grow up in a state that actually protects them. We cannot let negligence be the new normal. We are demanding accountability so that no mother has to stand in her driveway and wonder if her kids are about to lose everything they've ever known. Thank you so much for being our village this past year. We have truly seen the best of this community in the wake of the failures. I would like to take a moment to recognize my husband, Spencer. Over the last year, I have watched him work tirelessly, not just for my family, but for yours. He has been relentless in exposing the negligence of the state, the city, and 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡. He's not doing this to make friends. In fact, he's losing a lot of people he once thought were friends. But he continues to do this work because he cannot stay silent in the face of justice. He perseveres because his heart breaks thinking of our barren community, the place he grew up, the place his parents lost their home, the 12 people who lost their lives in the fire. He does this all because he loses sleep at night watching our kids sleep in a bed that's not their own. They let us burn. We will rebuild. We will recover. And for the sake of our children, we will never stop fighting for the truth.
Oh my gosh, I got more water coming out of my eyes than 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡 had in both our reservoirs. Oh my God. Here we go. I don't have this part of my speech, but I just seeing everybody here and, you know, you want me to be louder? Okay, I'll just go. Here we go. Here we go. I don't want anybody yelling at me anymore. Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone for being here. It's the first time I've been somewhere where I know everyone feels what I feel, because you go around every day, people go, oh, how are you? Oh yeah, the fire, da da da. But it's like, I know everyone standing here feels me. So I just want to thank God for giving us all the strength, because honestly, you know, I have more faith in this because you have to, because you think, why did this happen? Why is this happening? You've got to believe there's a bigger reason. You know, I got it. Otherwise, we're all effed. Okay, I'm here today to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the worst day of my life. On January 7th, 2025, Heidi and I lost our home. We lost every material possession we owned. My parents lost their home too, and with it, decades of memories made inside those walls. I grew up in the Palisades. I moved through these streets thinking my 2 boys would grow up here just like I did, with that same hometown feeling. But then right before my eyes, the future I envisioned for my family burned to the ground. Standing here 1 year later, I have to tell you the most heartbreaking part of the past year wasn't being displaced or losing everything I own. It was the realization that all of this was preventable. We are standing here amongst the ashes of our once beautiful town because the state and local leaders let us burn. Gavin Newsom and the state of California let brush grow wild in Topanga State Park for 50 years with no prescribed burns and no wildfire maintenance. Gavin Newsom and the state of California created an insurance market so hostile that every major carrier stopped writing policies and dropped our families and our neighbors just before the sparks flew here in the Palisades. Gavin Newsom and his state park policies actually literally dictated that we let the Palisades burn, and his park rangers put kindling over the smoldering embers of the January 1st Lockman fire, which would ultimately ignite the January 7th Palisades Fire that burned 7,000 structures and took 12 lives. Janice Quinones and the 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡 left our reservoirs empty despite collecting a salary of $750,000 per year. The LAFD failed to deploy sufficient firefighters, fire engines, and firefighting resources, whether it be due to lack of budget, lack of knowledge, or simply DEI. And while our lives were literally burning to the ground, Mayor Karen Bass was in Ghana. We all cope with loss differently. I coped with mine by eating burritos and putting every ounce of energy into uncovering the truth. And the dirty facts I've uncovered this year have completely blown me away. They have changed the way I view the world forever. I used to think my taxpayer dollars funded a functional city and a state government whose infrastructure and essential services would be there when I needed them. But I was completely naive. Our elected officials were warned for years about brush management, about the homeless crisis interrupting our fire safety, about our city's crumbling infrastructure, but they did nothing. They all stood by while our community became a tinderbox. And when the photo ops were done, they retreated into their office and buried fire victims in bureaucracy. Despite record-breaking cleanup by the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers, and despite nearly $4 billion in loans approved by the SBA, most fire victims cannot rebuild due to building permits and city regulations. This isn't just a political failure, it's a moral one. You know, I've spent a lot of my life in the public eye, and I've seen the games people play. I know the scripts they follow and the masks they wear, but this past year has stripped all that away. I have looked at my kids and my wife, I've looked at my family and my neighbors, and I have realized that the city I love is being managed into the ground by people who don't have the courage to actually lead. NGOs, nonprofits, and unions are running this town. Why do you think $100 million in fire aid money is missing? The system in Los Angeles isn't struggling, it's fundamentally broken. It is a machine designed to protect the people at the top and the friends they exchange favors with, while the rest of us drown in toxic smoke and ash. Business as usual is a death sentence for Los Angeles, and I'm done waiting for someone to take real action. That's why I am running for mayor. And let me be clear, this just isn't a campaign, this is a mission. And we are going to expose the system. We are going into every dark corner of LA politics and disinfecting this city with our light. And when we are done, LA is going to be camera ready again. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeremy.
This is from the 70s. It's all about fire and
who saw that coming?
70s.
I'll say this. Spencer has done us all a huge service this year. I can tell you this. He spent every day. He told me he goes to bed thinking about this, he wakes up thinking about this, and sometimes there's 5 hours in between. I think my mic is on. You guys hear me now? All right. Spencer's told me that he goes to bed thinking about this and wakes up thinking about this. And sometimes that's 3 hours apart. I know how much this means to him, and I know that you have seen that too. And you know what? The world needs to take citizens, journalists more seriously. And that's really what Spencer became this year. He went from being someone that was known, a celebrity, to being someone that was, even scoffed at. Oh, what is he talking about? To being someone who should be taken very seriously. Spencer, you're my friend, and I will tell you, I think everyone here should consider you their friend too, for everything that happened this year. So good luck with that, Spencer. I know that you're gonna bring a lot to this, and I know that you're gonna carry forward the needs of this constituency, to whatever it is that you're going to do next. Okay, here we go. Now we're shifting into the lawyerly component of the presentation, the next two. First, I want to introduce Mike 𝗕𝗨𝗬, and I did get his name right. He's a Palisades resident, firerebuild.com advocate. Mike caught my eye with his website in early 2025, where Mike demanded accountability, especially on wind conditions. His work proved two things. Number one, that there were a significant number of days that had worse wind conditions since 1978, the day of our fire, since 1978, versus the day of our fire. And second, that the 100-mile-an-hour hurricane winds, as tested by 56 weather stations, did not occur. Now look, fires perpetuate raging things. It was also 3,000 degrees. It wasn't 3,000 degrees outside that day. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay, Mike, come on up and tell the people what you know. Can you hear me?
Raise him up so you can stand up.
Sorry, Jeremy.
I'm tiny.
So I think the key takeaway from Jeremy's introduction for me is we were being gaslit. Louder? Is it this one? Okay. I'll just... Okay. So the key takeaway from the reports that I did...
It's the wind.
I'm not an expert like these guys, I apologize. So the key takeaway from the reports that I did is we were gaslit. I knew that had happened because my family had gone through this before. It wasn't our first time. They had lied to us before. We have been going through this for the past 7 years, trying to rebuild our home in Malibu. So the backstory on me is in 2018, my family lost our home in the Wildfire. After 6 years dealing with the permitting process, we decided to move on with our lives. Wanda Lett, you might know her from LADWP, told each of us to move on. No one's forcing us to stay here. She told us back then, people told us to move on with our lives. We did that. We moved here, right up the street here next to the elementary school and the church. My dream was to walk our kids to school. And like many of you, we lost everything in the fire a year ago. This time, they gave the same excuses back then that they gave today. They ran out of water. They said it was climate change that did this, that this was unprecedented, and it would never happen again. Our family never thought this would happen to us twice. But what we found that was new, what happened this time, is there was a new narrative that they're pushing on us, that we are to blame. That it is our fault that we live in a very high fire risk severity zone. It is our fault that we did not home harden. I know, sorry, I got lost. So the summary of that is basically, we are being bullied. We are being called opportunists. This is an opportunity for us, is what they say. We are profiting from this. That's what they're saying. The overall of what's happening now that is worse than what happened in 2018, that everyone needs to be aware of, is that we are being bullied, we are being silenced. That is their agenda. They know that if we expose the truth, we expose their failure. And if we expose their failure, we will defeat them. That is why they try to silence us. That is why Spencer gets attacked by the media, by our governor. That is why Jeremy got attacked last night by our mayor. And it is why I got attacked with cease and desist notices telling me to stop doing investigations. I got hate messages from people who claim to be our community, who claim to be our residents. The overall thing that nobody is going to be telling you And we've been through this for the past 7 years. No one is going to tell you. Everybody's been talking about the future and the past and what we just went through. What you're going to go through over the next few years is going to be very difficult. And the reason for that, and Alex is coming up next, the attorney leading the case, is we're going to have to learn something called immunity. These people are allowed to talk to us like this. They are allowed to lie to us. They are not our friends. They do not care about you. All they care about is their headlines. They only care about their campaign. Mayor Bass is looking for her new election. Gavin Newsom wants to be president. That's his childhood dream. Ever since his alleged Wonder Bread years.
No way.
I don't know if you guys got that joke, but so the point that I'm trying to make is the only way that we're going to be able to hold them accountable is if we continue to expose the truth, because that is their weakness. And by immunity, what I want to tell you is for the past 7 years, and that is not an exaggeration, I saw my family suffer. We got signed off from the city of Malibu in 2022. They told us to come back. They said that they wanted to make changes. They made a mistake. They told us to come back twice. We spent over $100,000 extra just on their mistake. What you need to understand is they are immune. What that means, they can do that to you. They are not accountable. And if you want to understand what immunity without accountability looks like, go to 7010 Burview Avenue in Malibu, California. You can also look up the permitting process. We followed the rules for 7 years. We wanted to move on. I wanted to walk my child to the school. That is my agenda. When these people ask me, what is your agenda for fire rebuild? I am not making a cent. It is costing money. I am not selling t-shirts. I am not running for anything. I just want a community. I thought Pacific Palisades was a community that would be safe. Right next to an elementary school and a church. And they let that burn. And if we do not continue to expose their lies, they will let us burn again. They did it to us twice, and they will do it to us a third time. I know that. The only hope that we have right now is that we have Spencer Pratt, who's working endlessly because he loves his family and he loves his community. We have Jeremy. Jeremy continues to dedicate his time and effort. He is not profiting. Spencer is not an opportunist. We have Gabriel Mann. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's been covering this as well. And we have me. You guys don't know me, but I'm just trying so that we have a community to rebuild. And again, if you want to see what immunity without accountability looks like, head to the property 7010 Burview Avenue, Malibu, California, so you know everything I have said is true. 7 years, they will put you through hell. Everybody here has only talked about the past, what has happened. They have let us burn, they have betrayed us, they do not care about you. They smile in your face and they take your money. You cannot hold them accountable if you are paying extra on your rebuild. If you are paying extra for their mistakes, they are immune. They are not accountable unless we continue to expose the truth of what has happened to us. And if you go through anything like my family did, I encourage you to share it. I will repost, I will publish it. I will continue to advocate for each of us so that they do not allow this to happen again. The last thing before our attorney comes on stage, and I had talked to him before this, on the topic of immunity. There is a chance that our entire case can and will be dismissed. That is what they want. They want to permanently silence each of us. And if they get away with that, if we are not at that courthouse, if we are not here like we are today, I understand that there's 10 conflicting events today for headlines. If we have one united group at the courthouse, fighting for our justice. I believe that we will make through this. We'll make it through. That we will get through that court hearing, that they will not dismiss the case, because we cannot allow this to happen to any other community again. I'm good. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. It's February 5th. Sorry? February 5th at the courthouse, downtown. Our attorney will go through it. I didn't have that written down. I don't have that memorized. I apologize, but it should be February 5th at the courthouse. I just really, I'm not a public speaker. I'm not an expert at this. But I can thank you, and I've run over my time. So thank you again, Jeremy.
All right, here comes the microphone experts. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. This is very productive, would you agree?
Yes. Particularly you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Alexander Robertson IV is the co-lead attorney in the Palisades Fire litigation, and we're very appreciative for all of these people that are fighting for us. Generally speaking, I don't really like attorneys. I like this one. Robertson is one of the top-rated attorneys in California with over 2 decades of experience handling complex multi-party cases. He is one of the lead attorneys in the People versus the City, State, and other related parties as pertaining to the Palisades Fire. Before Alexander knew who I was, he answered my emails in 15 minutes or less. I thought that was pretty cool. So I want to introduce Alexander Robertson. Come on up. Some people call him Trey. I don't even know if it's appropriate. What do you prefer?
I've been called a lot of things. Thank you. Well, we get the microphone situated. How about a big shout out for Jeremy for organizing this? $40,000 out of his own pocket, he gets accused of being a profiteer. That's not fair, but thank you, Jeremy, for putting this together and organizing it. Hopefully there's some cathartic effect of having everybody gather here on this solemn day. I have the honor to serve as one of the co-lead attorneys leading the case on behalf of all the Palisades Fire victims and survivors against the City of Los Angeles and the State of California. I'm here just to give you a little bit of insight into what's happening in that case. And Jeremy said this is about speaking the truth, so I'm going to give you some truth. The Palisades Fire, as we all know, was 100% preventable. Does anybody here believe that's not true? Your homes, your schools, your churches, your businesses did not have to burn. Make no mistake, there's a massive scandal and cover-up unfolding, as you've probably read in the media almost on a daily basis. We get new information coming out. In the lawsuit, it's almost a year old, we still have not been able to start discovery, which is the legal process to take depositions, to compel documents to be produced from the city and the state. So everything that we do in our investigation is either through a Public Records Act request or through a whistleblower who comes forward and shares information with us. And there's a lot of those whistleblowers that have come forward that you're going to be reading about. As we've heard today, and it's no news to you, but our elected officials have lied to us. They've told us that this fire was unprecedented. They told us that there were 100-mile-an-hour hurricane-force winds, and there was nothing that could be done to prevent this fire. Let me tell you what the truth is. The truth is this fire was not unprecedented. There have been 37 fires in Topanga State Park since the 1920s. 37 fires. The old Topanga fire in 1993 started under red flag warnings and strong Santa Ana wind conditions, creating flame lengths that were over 200 feet high and blue embers that spotted out ahead of the main fire 2 miles ahead. Does that sound familiar to anybody? The water storage tanks ran dry, leaving the fire hydrants dry. This is in 1993. That's called precedent. Okay, that's called precedent. This has happened before. Our elected officials have known it's happened before. In the state park's own manual, published in 2012, they say the following, and I'm quoting, "Due to topography in the Santa Monica Mountains, fires can spread rapidly and extensively when Santa Ana winds are present. Santa Ana winds in excess of 90 miles per hour, combined with steep terrain and north-south alignment of canyons, promotes rapid fire movement." So the state of California's own documents prove that they were aware of these dangerous fire conditions and that this type of a disaster could happen. As Michael's done an excellent job, and hopefully you've all read the research he's done, there were no hurricane force winds on January 7th. Data from 34 weather stations located within 10 miles of the fire's origin show that during the first 6 hours for the initial attack of the fire, the average maximum sustained wind speed was 16 miles per hour, and the average maximum wind gusts were only 24 miles per hour. Now I was on the fire line down on PCH, and when the sun went down, the wind did kick up. But during that crucial first 6 hours of the initial attack, we did not have hurricane force winds. And you all know that because you were here.
They were pretty big.
Pretty safe.
No, the winds were very big at 8:30 in the morning on Arbramar Avenue. My house was shaking. My gardener came round with his windblower. I said, "What the hell do you think you're doing, man?"
Yeah.
Look at the trees. They were blowing over.
They were.
It was gusting.
It did get strong. The truth is that state parks allowed the Lockman Fire to smolder on state land for 6 days under red flag conditions, like a ticking time bomb waiting to explode when the predicted Santa Ana winds arrived on the morning of January 7th.
Criminal negligence.
We released drone video yesterday. Some of you may have seen in the media, they picked it up. A resident in the Palisades had the forethought to fly a drone after the firefighters had left, after they had done their mop up, and they had declared the fire contained. He flew a drone video and he recorded at 8:37 a.m. on January 1st a column of smoke coming up from the southern edge of the burn scar of the Lockman Fire. It was visible from a quarter mile away. That's where he was flying his drone. Coincidentally, at that exact same time, a California State Park supervising ranger, I took her deposition just about 2 weeks ago. She told us under oath, I was there at 8:30 in the morning. I drove my truck up to the Lockman burn scar. I hiked up to the ridge and I took a bunch of photos. And I said, "Did you see the ground smoldering?" "Yeah, I saw the ground smoldering." "Well, what did you do about it?" "I took a picture of it." I said, "Did you tell anybody? Did you radio dispatch? Did you tell the firefighters they needed to come back because the fire wasn't out?" "No." "Why not?" "I'm not a firefighter."
Wow.
Sorry.
This is a state park employee, a sworn state peace officer, the supervisor for this region, this park. And she saw the ground smoldering after the firefighters had left. And it wasn't her job, so she just got in her truck, drove back to Malibu, and finished out her shift. This is the type of evidence that we're getting in this lawsuit. The LADWP wants you to believe that draining the 117 million gallons out of the San Ynez Reservoir had no effect on the fire hydrants running dry. The truth is, we've got documents that go back to when they designed that system, and the system counted on that reservoir being full to balance the system in the pipeline. Without that reservoir and without 117 million gallons, they had to pump water all the way down PCH and all the way up Palisades Drive, and they lost pressure. The DWP wants you to believe that keeping their power lines, their overhead power lines, energized on the day of the fire didn't contribute to the destruction of the Palisades. The evidence that we have obtained is that DWP did not shut off a single power line in the Palisades on January 7th or January 8th. We have video, thanks to many of you and our clients and the news media, of power lines falling to the ground, arcing, falling onto homes, setting them on fire, falling into flammable brush, starting additional spot fires that all merged and turned into this urban conflagration. The governor's independent investigation, and I use air quotes independent, and the highly edited after-action report from the LAFD won't tell you the truth because they're more afraid of liability than accountability. We also discovered, we got a court order. We convinced the judge. She said, I'm not going to lift the discovery stay until after the February 5th ruling on the motions to dismiss your case. We went in and we said, you've got to let us take the depositions of the state park employees and the firefighters that were there on January 1st, and we won. And we also convinced the judge to issue an order ordering the state parks to turn over certain documents to us. And what we found was shocking.
Tell us.
What we discovered is what I like to call the plants over people policy. This policy has been kept secret from all of you and has literally created a ticking time bomb. They have what they call a fire manual that they bring to every wildfire in Topanga State Park and any state park property here in Southern California. And in that notebook, they have things called avoidance maps. And the avoidance maps tell the firefighters the areas they're not allowed to bring a bulldozer to cut a containment line, and where firefighters are not allowed to use hand tools to cut containment lines because of a plant called the Milkovich plant. Plants over people. We obtained text messages between a state park environmental scientist and a captain at the LAFD after midnight on January 1st when the Lockman fire was burning. And the state park environmental scientist texted the fire captain and said, you're not going to send any of your bulldozers up here, are you? And later that morning he responded back and he said, heck no, that area is full of endangered plants. I'd be an idiot. I'm very well trained. This is an unspoken, unpublicized, secret policy for years between state parks and the LAFD that in Topanga State Park, it's hands off, they don't bring bulldozers to cut a containment line, and they limit what firefighters can do during the mop-up, all for the sake of a plant that, by the way, got nuked anyway on January 7th. During the depositions of state park environmental scientists, we also learned that on January 1st, after the firefighters had finished putting the fire out, they thought, the state park's environmental scientists grabbed firefighters, we have video and we have photos of it, and said, hey, will you take some of that brush that you just cut from the containment line and drag it back over and cover up the containment line. And I said, why would you want the firefighters to undo the work they just did? They just cut a containment line to make sure that the embers and the heat doesn't spread. And he said, well, we're concerned about hikers coming in and we don't want them to hike down these trails. And so we want the firefighters to cover up the containment lines and put flammable fuel back on a containment line.
I'm only jumping in for one reason. I just want you guys to know what's going on. You saw a lot of flags. Those are students from Pali High that are running by. So many of them lost their homes. Thank you so much, guys.
We also learned during his depositions of the state park employees that they asked on January 1st that the firefighters roll up their hoses. And the reason they did that is they said, well, there was a fire years ago and the firefighters left the hoses for 18 months and we didn't like it. So we wanted to make sure that they hurried and packed up and rolled up their hoses. And that's exactly what they did on the morning of January 2nd. They came back and rolled up their hoses. And you've all read probably in the media that some of these firefighters, brave firefighters, have come forward risking retaliation from their department. And have said that they were ordered off that hill even though they told their superiors that the ground was still smoldering and the rocks were still hot to the touch. We're going to depose those firefighters starting next week. We want the truth to come out, and the best disinfectant is sunshine, and we're putting on a lot of sunshine, folks. Let me tell you about the case against the state. The case against the state of California is based on something called dangerous condition of public property. And that theory defeats governmental immunity. We're alleging that the state parks knew, because we know from their ranger, she testified she saw the smoldering, she even took a picture of it. State parks knew that there was smoldering embers still in state park property. They didn't do anything about it, and that's called a dangerous condition. The state park's own manual says, their operations manual says, that when there's a fire in Topanga State Park, they have to close the park, they have to inspect it, and they have to take care of any public safety hazard. And they didn't do that, and we think that we're going to win that case. The case against the city of Los Angeles, the LADWP, is about draining the reservoir. We talked about that. The reservoir was necessary to balance the system so that the fire hydrants didn't run dry. We've also alleged they failed to turn off the power on these power lines overhead. Finally, I just want to encourage everybody, Michael referenced it, this is a big fight, folks. I mean, all of us can stand here and we can say, you know what, it just seems so clear and so obvious to us. We're fighting the city of Los Angeles and the state of California. They filed motions to try to dismiss your lawsuits. There's going to be a hearing on February 5th at the Spring Street Courthouse, 312 North Spring Street. It's the old federal courthouse next to the 101. I want to encourage everybody to be there. It's at 1:45 p.m. on February 5th. February 5th at 1:45, Department 7 before Judge Samantha Jessner at the Spring Street Courthouse in downtown LA. Show up and bring your voices, because this is the time that you need to be heard. This is the time when we want to see the fire victims show up and say, you know what, this matters to us. This is important. We're not going away. God bless you. Thank you very much.
I am 5'6". I mean, 5'6" and a half.
All right.
I need to have. I have a question for you guys. Where are all the celebrities? Aren't we known as a town filled with a bunch of people that are known?
Yes. They're tied into the political machine.
It's been really disappointing. It's been really disappointing. I haven't seen an honorary mayor come around either. Look, honestly, let's put it this way. When times are good and you look around and see who's there with you. And when times are bad, look around again and see who's still there. Those are the people that matter. We still love our celebrities, though, I'll be honest. Listen, Spencer's multifaceted.
Thank you, Spencer. Heidi Montage.
Heidi's multifaceted. You want to be dimensionalized? Why don't you have an opinion? Then you're dimensionalized. Okay, next up, John Brown. He's a Palisades resident, and he lived in the Palisades Bowl Mobile Estates. And let me tell you something, they've had it particularly difficult time. I don't know if everyone's aware, and we wanted to be super inclusive and make sure you heard from everyone, and you can't have this without talking about those guys. So John Brown lives in a community of 172 manufactured mobile homes located in the Pacific Palisades. This community dates back to the 1890s Methodist camp before becoming a mobile home community in the 1950s. These homes were destroyed, all of them, in the fire. This community of affordable housing, by the way, has felt no love from the city, state, or those who state the importance of affordable housing. Go figure. Again, our leaders are having a big issue with the do part. They'll say a lot, but let's see what they do. John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey guys, John Brown. Oh my God, so good to be here. Wow. It's 12:30 right now. This was a bad time last year. I have kids. I had a daughter at Methodist preschool. I had a son in kindergarten at Palisades Elementary. I was in Marina Del Rey at the time, and I had to drive back and evacuated the kids. And I saw all you guys. We were running around this village trying to get our kids, trying to get our family, maybe grandparents, and trying to get out of here. And you know, I just want to say that and kind of let that sink in for a second, because you know, I'm having a visceral reaction to this moment right now, and to see you guys. And thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. You know, I asked my daughter, she's now 6 years old, and I think it's so important that we give the kids a voice. The kids don't have a voice. They're kids, right? And they lost all their shit, and their homes, and their schools, and their yogurt shop, and their pizza place, their churches, their temples. There was a Beach Street Pizza was over here, Palisades was over there. That's all burned down. And I'm not gonna get into, you know, some of the specifics about who's to blame, because these guys have made an incredible point that it seems very, very obvious to me that this was preventable, right? So I don't need to make that case. We have extremely smart people. Thank God that there's a lot of attorneys in this town. I don't know if anyone's ever said that before. And I guess it would be weird for me to announce my mayoral candidacy now with Spencer, but I'm just gonna drop out and I'll get behind him. I absolutely love this town. I'm not a rich guy. I'm not a famous guy. My wife and I hacked our way into this town. I was living in West Hollywood. I said, I found a house. It's like a few $100,000. It's on the beach. It's in the Palisades. And she's like, you are high. What are you talking about? And I said, I'm telling you, it's in this mobile home park, and it's really cool, and the people are amazing. I see some of those people out here. My buddy Ben, who I think he had 80 surfboards, and I think most of them burned, and I'm sorry about that, Ben. And Barry, you know, one of our seniors, we were a mobile home park of, I don't know, I think there's about 25 to 30% senior citizens there, at least. We have to do a survey and run it. And also Tahitian Terrace and Malibu Village, right? So these three mobile home parks that were a character, I mean, Jeremy explained the history behind it. We don't want this town to come back as something different, right? You guys want it to come back as the Palisades as it was. And it's complicated. I mean, all the people that were renting, that were in apartments, that are in the Highlands, that were in townhomes, that are in very complicated situations. We need the government. Look, I teach my kids to make amends, not to say I'm sorry and run away, right? My son and daughter, they fight with each other. I'm sorry and run away. No, that's not how we do it. We make amends, and that's by admitting where you were wrong and then making it right. So let's make it right. I want to see the government really come in, and I will say, you know, Tracy Park, Senator Allen, these people have stepped up and really they've tried, and it's such a broken system, and each one of us, we're here, we show up. That's like 90% of it, right? We show up and we'll keep fighting. That mobile home park, you know, there's owners of the park, and then we rent the land, right? And we own our homes that are on it. And you know, he hasn't been the most cooperative. And, you know, he also, I think, is in a position where it might be difficult financially. And we need the government entities and leadership to help us motivate them. And so we need to have them continue doing that. And the other thing I want to say is, you know, my kids are at Pali Elementary. LAUSD has been amazing. They have, the day of those fires, we evacuated our kids, and Principal Herman, who is the principal at Pali Elementary, she got on the phone with LAUSD, and it was a Tuesday the school burned. That night was horrific for us, right? We knew what was happening here. I was in Valencia at my mother-in-law's house. We watched the house burn basically on TV. We watched the whole park go down. We couldn't believe what was happening in the alphabet streets, and that it was ripping through the town. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, and we're like, where are we gonna live? Where do we go? The uncertainty, right? People were saying, even still today, I have uncertainty fatigue. I don't know how I'm going, I don't know where I'm gonna be tomorrow. Where am I gonna be next year? And with Pali Elementary, I will say that they got us over to Brentwood Science Magnet, which was a school that was 80% empty. And they set those classrooms up for us and got us into temporary school for our kids, right? Our kids got in with their teachers, and we got into a temporary situation, which is temporary. And they've been amazing, but we want to come back home. That school is a really important school. I bet you there's a lot of people here, their kids went Pali High, right? People move to this town for the schools. They come here because the schools, the public school system here is amazing because they're charter schools. Look at this, the kind of enthusiasm that these kids, this school have for the town. This town will come back following the schools. They need to be a priority. The timeline has been very agitating, to put it lightly. The Pali Elementary is supposed to come back now, August of 2028. They originally said January of 2029. We pushed them. They're saying now fall of 2028. Village School is saying they're back January 28, right? So another broken system, a public system that moves slower than it needs to. So we need to keep pushing on that. And one of the things that they have not confirmed is what's going on with the standing building. We've been asking them. There's a standing building there. Thank God that it didn't burn down. We can save that building. But what's going on behind the walls? They keep brushing us off. Go into the walls, give us a thorough analysis of what chemicals. The New York Times just did a huge report on a home in Altadena where they tested the people's hair because the insurance company said they could move home, and the kids had arsenic and lead in their hair. How can you, they're spending $140 million to rebuild the school, which by the way is a beautiful design and it's gonna be amazing. But look guys, what's with the nickel and diming? Let's just get in there, let's push them. LAUSD guys, let's not find out in 10 years that our kids have cancer and now our taxpayers are paying for lawsuits because kids are getting sick, right? So let's put maybe, what is it, a few $100,000 to replace the HVAC system, which they're saying they're not gonna replace. Insane. Get into the walls. Let's take it down to the studs maybe. My friend Rick Caruso here is taking it down to the studs, right? Private versus public institutions. Let's act like that, right? UPS seems to run a lot better than USPS. So, and then secondly, the school here did not have a full kitchen. It had the food that was served to the kids are microwaved food. We are at Brentwood Science Magnet right now. My kids are eating well-cooked, healthy food. We've asked for them to build a kitchen. They're spending $150 million on a new school. Let's make a new kitchen. Let's give the kids a full kitchen. We've been getting so much pushback on this. It doesn't make, how many times have we had to say in the past year, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. Let's start making sense of this. I will say that the residents from the mobile home parks are going to get together at 1 p.m. today across the street from the park. And Palisades Renewal Center is an amazing place. Please lean into that, guys. If you need any kind of help, I've been going there because my head needs it, and I feel that it's an amazing place. So Palisades Center on Nebraska. I hope you guys know about that, and sorry, I know I went on a little bit, but love you guys so much. Thank you.
Listen, people have something to say, they should say it. All right, next. Sheriff Alex Villanueva, the 33rd Sheriff of Los Angeles County. He was served from 2018 to 2022. He's the first sheriff to unseat an incumbent in over 100 years. He served LA from 1986 to 2022 total, and before that, the US Air Force and the Army National Guard. He asked me if he could stand up here and speak, and I said, okay, but at least please give a little insight as to why we don't have our very own Palisades police team. So, Sheriff, we're very appreciative that you're here today. There's so many people who are not.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and I extend heartfelt condolences for those who lost a loved one on January 7th, both here in Altadena. That's 31 souls that were lost, and I can tell you this right now, every single one was preventable. There is no excuse for that. One person was responsible for evacuations in LA, and most people don't even know this. That was a sheriff of Los Angeles County. He was on vacation in Carlsbad while your mayor was on vacation or doing whatever they were doing in Ghana. So the people that were responsible for handling this were nowhere to be found. And I'm gonna real quickly draw you back to 2020. The Board of Supervisors decided that the sheriff shouldn't be the director of emergency management. They want to replace it with a bureaucrat, a bean counter. So they did that in big fanfare, and here's the LA Times article. And it says, supervisor removed Sheriff Alex Villanueva as head of emergency operations. And this is what I told the Times back then, 5 years ago. He said the change would only cloud the lines of communication and add an unneeded layer of bureaucracy to life or death matters. Oh my God, does that mean something today? Now you know why when those fires came around in January, no one was talking to anybody, no one was in charge, everyone's pointing fingers, no evacuation plans, no pre-positioning of assets, hydrants are dry, and the important thing that didn't happen, you had 5 days notice from the National Weather Service. That's 5 days that the sheriff should have got a hold of the chief of police, LA County Fire, LA City Fire, US Forest Fire. Hey folks, we got some really bad stuff coming here. We got 2 years of record rain, 8 months of record drought, and a bunch of wind. Gee, what could go wrong with that combination, right? That meeting never happened. That meeting's supposed to identify, oh wait a minute, there's still a fire burning, maybe we should put it out. Maybe we should have evacuation plans ready for the people who cannot leave their homes that are homebound. All these things did not happen, so who had to figure it out on their own? Deputies on the ground, LAPD officers on the ground, CHP that was not there to get the traffic running so people get out of harm's way here in the Palisades. This should not happen again, so excuse me, I make it real simple for you folks. Leadership failed. You gotta hold leadership accountable. Mayor Bass needs to feel the sting of not having the job of mayor. Lindsay Horvath needs to feel the sting of not being supervisor, because she failed you as well. Governor Newsom needs to feel the sting of not being elected official anymore. Only when you get these people removed from office, you'll have the undivided attention of the people that replace them. Until that happens, we're wasting our time, folks. So go about, we'll do everything we can to get you back on your feet, rebuild, do everything you can, but at the same time, spare some time to make sure that one of these fools does not get reelected again. I'll leave you with that. Thank you all. God bless you all.
You know, you're in the crowd and you meet certain people, and I just want to say one thing. I'm so glad these guys are here too. But in the crowd is a former, current, like the right now. All right, the firefighter of the year on behalf of Palisades. Oh, hold on. Okay, you can do it. No, it's okay. It's okay.
How's it going? My name is 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡. I'm born and raised in Pacific Palisades. My family's been here since 1963. And I come to you as a 30-year fireman, but I'm not speaking for the LAFD. I'm speaking on my personal opinion. I can't speak for them. But what I can tell you is that years ago when I worked here in town, I was Fireman of the Year in the Palisades. Yes. And I love this town. And I can tell you all the guys at this station love this town. And what happened was, don't blame the guys behind the hose lines. They did the absolute best they could. They were understaffed, they were under-resourced, and they could not do the job that they were wanting to do, and it hurt them. And let me tell you something. This brush has been overgrown for years. Back in the 80s, we used to do dozer cuts and do fire breaks and cut fire breaks. We used to clear out the dead brush. They stopped doing that because of radicalized environmentalism. They stopped doing that. And what happened was that brush has grown over and they've given more attention to the brush, and the brush actually burned us and caused more of an ecological damage in the long run. So it was a foolish decision. And I will tell you, back in the 1978 Mandeville fire, I was on my house in Charm Acres, and they evacuated us, and we came to Sunset Boulevard. Sunset had engines, hundreds of engines lined on it, and that was the Alamo. That was made to be the Alamo. The fire department's budget has been so cut throughout the years, they weren't able to do that Alamo, I suppose. I don't know, I don't want to place blame on anyone currently as a fireman standing up here, but what I am saying is there was failure up above. It wasn't the guys behind the hose lines. So I want you to know, as a local Palisadian and as someone who cares immensely for this community, we all care deeply for you, and these guys feel horrible about what happened. But they all truly want you to know they all stand with you. So thank you very much, and thank you for putting on this event.
All right, here's the deal. This is a complicated situation. But to have someone come up here and explain the under-resourced situation, to explain the fact that there was brush that was not cleared, to explain, like, that's also real, okay? All right, next. Put that down. Everyone's tall. Okay. Alyssa, damn it. All right. Alyssa Ashwood is a Palisades resident, business person. She's stepping up the microphone today to speak on behalf of standing homes impacted by toxicity. We did not want to overlook that because it's easy to look at a lot that's burned down, but it's very difficult to see the fact that you have a radioactive home that's standing, and insurers have had a really hard time with that. Alyssa is a third-generation Palisadian and proud grandmother to a fifth-generation Palisadian, and Alyssa's grandfather is Benjamin Lackman, who built the Marquez Knolls. So, Alyssa, come on up and say hello.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm wearing the dress that I evacuated in today. I know it's one of the few things that each of us have, so I'm using it. And that is the point of this rally. We have to use what we have to go forward. This year was the finale of Downton Abbey. And I love the dresses and I love the history, but mostly I love the theme of a multi-generational family fighting to preserve their home as its caretakers for future generations. Our family home on Lackman Lane isn't an estate. It's a normal-sized, mid-century modern house on a street that is my family name. And it's also the name of the January 1st fire, the Lackman Fire. That was pretty rough to wake up to that morning. It's one of the homes that my grandfather and his 6 brothers built in the 50s. They had the vision of a whole hillside of homes where the hillside view was completely protected, and so were the views of all these homes. So this is the part of the Palisades where there are CCRs that are protecting those 600 homes from having their views built over, but it's also the reason that we can look here and see the hills instead of a wall of buildings. So that's just one of the many, many, many considerations as we're rebuilding of ways to keep the Palisades the Palisades. And we take our responsibility as caretakers seriously. We've lived in this home continuously for 4 generations of my family, and I know I'm not alone. There are many multi-generational families here. Well, while we were protecting the view and building the community, those responsible for protecting us failed. Those beautiful hills did not have their brush cleared, and fire resources were not deployed ahead of time. Now let me tell you, in the 1970s, I used to have a pony at the top of that hill. I'm a Palisadian, I had a pony, thank you very much. And I love that pony. And during the fire that sparked there, we had to walk the horses down the hill, even as a little girl, and we walked them from the top of Lackman Lane to the ocean. And it was normal that we had fires, and it was normal that we fought them, and we had never any kind of this devastating loss on this scale. On the anniversary of our January 7th fire, we have to say it plainly. They let us burn.
They let us burn.
They let us burn.
They let us burn.
So people look at my house right now and they see a standing home. It is surrounded by dozens and dozens of burned down homes, but it wasn't saved by a fire truck or a professional crew. It was saved by my neighbor, 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡, with a bucket and a hose. Even with Sam's heroic efforts, the garage, the backyard burned down, the fire blew in through the HVAC and broke all the windows. And the home that stood for 75 years through earthquakes and fires, that my grandfather built to last, now has to be stripped down to the studs. After a fire, communities depend on standing homes to recover fastest. They usually have the least damage. Those standing homes drive the economic recovery. They shop at the stores, they bring their kids back, they get the schools going again. They're the ones who hold down the fort during construction. They're the ones that keep the culture of the town. You can visit them until your home is ready. And instead, insurance has denied and delayed standing homes like mine and those with spoke damage so much that we finally, in November, had to band together as a standing homes block group across the Palisades. And when that wasn't enough, banded together with Eden to be one across LA standing homes voice to start speaking up more and more. Because we found that people had received less than 10% of their insurance claim a year later, and they've cut off all of our rent money just to force us to take settlements. Now this is even with substantial insurance policies that many people had, and even with a state of emergency rule that require that rent to be paid. The contamination is described as life-altering. It's really bad for you to live with this stuff. And the Department of Health has been silent. Yesterday, the Department of Insurance bragged that the payment of insurance claims from insurance companies for the Los Angeles wildfires is already the fastest on record. This fastest language, go Pally, this fastest language has become a familiar slogan when it's clear that it is fake fast. Our recovery can't be their PR campaign when our reality is devastating. I voted for you, our governor, our mayor, our insurance commissioner, and we need you right now. Be here for us now. Stop the PR and start the repairs. Our homes aren't standing, they are suffocating. We don't want fast, fake, fast, forever sick. At the beautiful flag ceremony at the Legion, what was so remarkable is that the American flag flying over the Legion survived the fire. It was tattered, it was faded, but it survived. And today, they took down that flag, they retired that flag and put up a fresh one. It is time to allow our standing homes that are damaged to be retired. They did their job. On the other hand, if you want a role model for who has had real concern and realistic plans, watch Tracy Park, who's had our back every single day, with our thanks. We also want to acknowledge Emergency Management Department Manager, Rick Pope. Rick Pope, some of you might have seen interpreting, because he sometimes interprets during a disaster, but he started meeting with our community to help us survive whatever we might survive, because he informed us that 9 out of 10 people rescued in an emergency are rescued by their neighbors. Raise your hand if you were part of rescuing your neighbors getting out of town and throughout this entire year keeping our community together. So I want to acknowledge that Rick Pope has been out here every month training us on emergency preparedness and how we can work together as a community, the things we can do ourselves. So I want to give my neighbors encouragement. You can talk to myself or Josie Tong. Every month we are learning more and more how to do that as a neighborhood. The average home in the Palisades was built in 1963 by middle-class families who wanted to build a community. We're a town with high school students from 100 different zip codes. We are volunteers who take care of the entire city. There are so many multi-generational families here, like in Eaton, because when you live in our communities, you don't want to leave. We want our communities to be great for kids, great for seniors, and great for everybody in between. You've seen a variety of politics up here today. I think that's fantastic. We should have a whole mix of political views, and I hope that more people run for office and more people go check the job board and take a job in one of these city offices so we can have more influence over the running of our city. And if anyone needs to be deputized to go do that, thinking it shouldn't be me, I don't really know, I am deputizing you right now. Please go volunteer, run for office, go get a job that will help with our recovery, and you will feel a greater sense of purpose. I'll wrap up by saying that when you live in a multi-generational home, you aren't just a homeowner. You're the caretaker of memory itself, the joys and the sorrows that shape a family. And if you just got here this year, if you just arrived in 2025, like my neighbor down the street who moved in on January 4th and had to write to his neighbors and say, you don't know me yet, but I was really looking forward to being your neighbor, then you are the first of your multi-generational family. If you don't have children, you just adopt somebody as your extra family, because that's how we want to be in the Palisades. This year, as the characters of Downton Abbey saw their estate endure into the future with satisfaction, my family home ended in limbo and loss. It was such a gut punch, I didn't see it coming on the show. And we're here today because limbo and loss is not enough. We're here to demand that the caretakers of our city show the same devotion to our homes that these neighborhoods have shown to the city for over 100 years. We are still here. We are still the caretakers, and we will not let the memory of what happened here be swept away with the ash. Thank you.
Okay, we are rounding the corner. There's only a few more, I'll bring up a couple of special guests. And I just really appreciate you guys, all of your patience. This has been a long couple hours, and it's hard to take it all in, right? It's hard to take it all in. So next up, I want to introduce 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡. She is an Altadena resident, and she is the After the Ashes, a beautiful Altadena podcast. 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡 is a fourth-generation Angelino. She's a serial entrepreneur, the creator of the decade-old 10,000 Neighbor Strong, Beautiful Altadena advocacy group, member of the Altadena Accountability Coalition, and a total loss survivor. And everyone here, put your hands up if you can hear me. Put your hands up if you can hear me. Everyone, put your hands up. I feel like, you know this old trick, right? I want you guys to give 𝗕𝗨 a lot of respect. She's come here from Altadena. They are our brothers and sisters. They burned down too. And frankly speaking, theirs was as brutal and as awful as ours. 𝗕𝗨, come on up.
Okay, we had a lot of jokes about height. I'm 5'1" with the hat. I was gonna say good morning, but it's good afternoon. Thanks everyone, first of all, for sticking around and sticking it out. As Jeremy, thanks again, Jeremy, for having me and everyone else here today. I'm 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡. As you heard, I'm a community leader from Altadena, the founder of the decade-old Beautiful Altadena group, and I'm standing here representing all of our neighbors in solidarity with all of you. I am also a total loss survivor of the Eaton fire, as you heard, like so many of you in the crowd today. I want to start out with repeating what we've heard this morning, because I think it's so critically important at this point that we all unite around this point, that this is not a partisan issue. This doesn't matter at this point if we are Democrats, Republicans, if we are conservative, progressive, right, left. What happened to us in Altadena, what happened to all of you here in the Palisades, what is continuing to happen to fire survivors all over LA County, and what will undoubtedly happen to the next town that this happens to, because it is going to happen again. It is government failure at every level. Like many of you, when the fire started, I took next to nothing with me, because there was no universe in which I believed a fire would be allowed to burn unchecked through thousands of homes across miles of terrain without any effort to stop it, and with no evacuation warnings. That's right, we got no evacuation warnings. LA County Fire has fought fires in higher winds than what we saw that week, considerably higher than what you saw here. So why didn't that happen this time? Where was CAL FIRE? Why weren't resources staged? These were not unprecedented conditions. Why was there no plan? Those are not political questions, they are emergency management questions. And the answers matter because people died, our neighbors died, our homes were lost, your homes were lost, and our communities have been forever changed. 31 of our neighbors are not here with us today. And hundreds more have perished since as a result of these fires. We also know, because the data already tells us, that there will be hundreds more lost in the years ahead to fire-related illness, displacement, stress, and trauma. These are lives that will never be part of the official death toll that we have already lost. And they are no less real, but they are the cost of what happened here to all of us. Altadena and the Palisades may be very different communities, but we are also very much the same. Many of our neighbors were underinsured or underinsured. Many will never be able to rebuild and come home. Here in the Palisades, your stories are so similar to all of our stories. People lost generational wealth overnight. You lost all of your home equity overnight. People were underinsured. People are fighting insurance battles they shouldn't have to. People's lives have been upended in ways that even if you do receive insurance checks, they will never fully repair. We are different communities, but we are experiencing the same failures, and we are asking the same hard questions. How do we rebuild when there is no accountability? And how do we move forward when there is no trust from any of our electeds who are supposed to represent us? Both of our communities were left in peril by the total failure of emergency planning and fire response. Both of our communities are now being asked to carry the burden of a rebuild while our government institutions continue to avoid their own responsibility. What we all need is real support for displaced families who are being left behind as the spotlight fades. And as we've heard today, that includes our renters and our seniors and so many others who have just been completely left behind. Meaningful economic support, including tax relief for all of us. Rebuilding shouldn't bankrupt survivors while everyone else is getting rich off of our tragedy. We need intelligent policy and legislation, not more that punishes people for just trying to come home and rebuild. We need real public safety, including dedicated local resources in your town and ours so that people aren't left in their homes to die. We need real fire preparedness and prevention, including evacuation planning. Did anyone enjoy the latest evacuation planning from LA County Fire? The advice was shelter in place. That worked out really well for us. We also need, as we've heard, infrastructure upgrades. We also had no water. Our neighbors also were left on their own to fend for themselves. Our neighbors north of 60 and 70 years old with garden hoses and a pool or a bucket literally not only saved their own homes when no one else came, but they also created fire breaks that saved multiple homes. Where is the infrastructure? And why are we being asked to pay for it? We also, like all of you, know too well the desperate need to underground all of our power lines. Those power lines took out our entire town, and we are now being asked to foot the bill. All we would like is some accountability and transparency, including actionable investigations with findings that are actually implemented, unlike what happened to your neighbors here in Malibu after the 2018 Wildfire. We had reports, we had investigations, we had recommendations, we had supervisor motions. None of it was implemented. If it was, I wouldn't be standing here, your town would be here, and so would ours. These are not radical demands. They are baseline expectations. In Altadena, we are also asking for an independent investigation into what happened. Thank you. Through the Altadena for Accountability Coalition, we are calling on Attorney General Rob Bonta to open a truly independent investigation with subpoena power into the fire response and the negligence that got us here. Not a report written by consultants hired by the same people and agencies that failed us, not a review with pre-written conclusions, a real investigation. Because you cannot restore trust without truth, and you cannot prevent the next disaster if no one is held accountable for the last one. Whether or not your community has made that same call yet, I do believe we are all asking for the same fundamental questions and for the same fundamental things. How can we move forward without justice? How can we move forward without accountability? How do we move forward without any real change? And I'm going to add, because I think, as Jeremy has, I know, been made a target in my community, I have very much been a target, have been singled out. All of us speaking power to truth have been made targets. If telling the truth about systemic failure sounds like anger or negativity, that says a lot more about our tolerance for honesty than it does about my tone. I know all of us here come from many spectrums and many belief systems, and I know a lot of us would probably disagree on a lot of things, and that's okay, but this is not one of them. Fire doesn't check your party registration, wind doesn't care who you voted for, and failure at this scale doesn't belong to any one party or ideology. It belongs to a system that has grown too comfortable avoiding consequence. This is about competence, it's about leadership, it's about whether our government exists to protect you and I, the people, or just itself. Altadena stands with the Palisades. We stand with you in demanding accountability. We stand with you in demanding transparency. We stand with you demanding change that isn't just lip service, remembrance ceremonies, and more photo ops. Resilience is not recovery. Survival is not success. And hope without a plan is not a strategy. As I was quoted in The Economist, and I kind of hated that they quoted me, and I promised I wouldn't do this, but I am gonna do it. Hope is not a fucking plan, and we need a fucking plan. Because they let us burn. but we are still here, we are together, we will never go quietly, and we will not stop until we have accountability. Thank you. Altadena strong, Palisades strong. I wanted to call us Paladena.
All right, Altadena is our brothers and sisters. I think Topanga Canyon is our brothers and sisters. Malibu's our brothers and sisters. What am I missing? Listen, a lot of bad things happened that day. We're almost done. I just want to make a call out and then there's one speaker and then there's someone coming up to say a couple words. But I just want to say something to Steve Hilton, okay? Again, human to human. This is not an ideological moment. This is just simply a rally, an old school rally, people coming together. Steve stood there for 2.5 to 3 hours listening. When was the last time you saw someone do that? It's unusual. Thank you so much, Steve, for doing that. It means a lot to all of us for you to do that and to stand there and to spend the time. It really does. Ideological stuff is secondary. It always should be secondary. If you believe someone can operate well, that's the person. And demonstrating that you're willing to listen, I'm sure won over some fans today, Steve. So you want to come up and say a couple things?
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, everybody. My name's Steve Hilton. You saw those trucks the high school kids were driving. One of them had a flag. It said, Steve Hilton for governor. That's me. I'm running for governor. As Jeremy said, I didn't come here to make a political speech. I didn't come here to make any kind of speech. I came here to listen. I listened, and I heard, and I saw the tears and the loss, but I also saw the rage, the righteous rage you all feel about how badly you've been let down. And now I feel that stronger than ever before. I've been coming here many times during the last year to learn what happened, how we can do better. Earlier this morning, I don't know if Sean is still here, I was here to publish in her words a fucking plan to make sure that this never happens again. I did that this morning. But I just want to say one thing to all of you here. I came here, I made a sign in readiness for this event to just stand here and be with you and support you. And here's my sign. Wanted some leadership from these people in charge. And now that I've heard what you have to say, I'm telling you, this is inadequate to express the disgrace of these people and what they've done and how badly they've let you down. It is not just leadership we need in this city and in this state. It is decency, it is responsibility, it is competence. And I'm telling you now, we all have the chance to get some of that this November. You saw it from Spencer Pratt, who announced his run for mayor of LA today. And I can tell you right now, as I said to Spencer backstage, I am with him all the way. Are we with him all the way? And I'm telling you now, when he's elected, when I'm elected, when we get new leadership in this city and in this state, we're going to turn things around. We are all here to say one thing. We are going to fight for the Palisades. We're going to fight for Los Angeles. We're going to fight for California. We are going to make this beautiful city and this beautiful state that we love so much truly golden again. Thank you very much, everybody. Keep fighting.
Stick with us. Stick with us. Jeff Dixon, Palisades resident, condo owner. Jeff Dixon's an eloquent writer, a local Palisades resident who is joining us today to speak to the challenges of people who are in condos in the Pacific Palisades. Come on up, Jeff.
It is so appropriate that the condo people go last, because that is exactly how we feel all of the time. So just give me a few minutes and then you can all go to garden. So my name is Jeff Dixon. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a known political figure. I'm just a normal dad from the Palisades who loves hiking and watching horror movies. I grew up in small town Utah where community and values were everything. It was kind of like a real life Pleasantville. So when I moved to LA for work, this small town kid sought out that same kind of small town that I grew up with. Never thinking I'd actually find it in an insanely big city like LA. But holy hell, then I found the Palisades. So it was bursting with that same heart and soul of community that I grew up with. One 4th of July parade and I fell in love instantly. My wife and I bought our very first place here. We raised our girls here. They went to Palisades Elementary, Paul Revere Middle School, graduated from Pali High. They did vacation Bible school at Palisades, they did vacation Bible schools at Palisades Methodist Church. They did youth plays at Theater Palisades, where I helped build the sets with a lot of the other moms and dads. All our friends lived here. Our community was here. For just shy of 17 years, the Palisades was my perfect home where I could hike early in the morning and watch my horror movies at night. The Palisades was my Pleasantville. Now, we owned a townhome right over there in the large complex that stretched along Sunset and Via de la Paz. I know you all know that complex. Every single person in the Palisades had a parent, grandparent, sweet aunt, weird uncle, family friend, 2 cents contributor, or Gelson's meat counter acquaintance that lived there. It was a community among itself, and man, I loved living there. Now fast forward to January 7th last year, a day we all remember too well. After we evacuated, each and every one of us still remember that sinking feeling, wondering what was happening to everything we left behind. Was there going to be a home to return to? Was our place being protected? I remember my only outlet was doing Instagram stories just to feel some kind of connection. It was an awful limbo. Well, I was in a unique situation where I didn't have to wait in limbo for long. Because that very night, I sat in my downtown hotel room and watched our complex burn live on the news. It was on every channel. Countless texts from friends saying, "Dude, your place is on the news." Yeah, I know. It was surreal, to say the least, and a shock that I'll never fully be able to shake, looking at my suitcases on the floor, realizing that's all I had left. Now, I'm not here to throw blame on whether enough was done to prepare for this and all that. That's been discussed enough, although I think we know by now there wasn't. I just wanted to present my personal story so you could see the situation from one person's eyes, because each one of us has an individual story. We're not numbers. We're individual human beings. And now that you know me as an individual, I want to quickly discuss what's happened after I lost everything to the fires. I want to highlight my situation and the situation of many other condo and townhome owners. For some reason, condo and townhome owners have fallen lower on the priority list and not gotten the same amount of assistance as single-family houses. Just to give a few examples. We were initially excluded from opting into the Army Corps Engineer cleanup. We were all gonna have to pay out of pocket. Luckily, we had some amazing people push for it and we got that assistance, but why were we excluded in the first place? We're homeowners too. Next, and currently, for some reason we're being excluded from the discussion of waiving permitting fees. Again, why? Do we not need the same amount of help? I mean, it doesn't really make sense. And on a personal level, dealing with our awesome complex in particular, we're in a situation where a developer is currently using a loophole in California condo law to hold over 100 other owners in our complex hostage, all in order to force the sale of our property. So my home, where I lived almost 17 years, and the only home my girls really knew, might not even be able to be rebuilt unless we get legislative help at the state level. Help that has been elusive. So why is there such a lack of assistance for condo owners? We should not be excluded from the conversations. Condo and townhome owners not only need the same amount of help as everyone else, but in some cases more. Hell, I'm still paying HOA fees every month on a home that doesn't exist. Beat that one. And don't even get me started on the inequities of condo insurance versus homeowner insurance, because once again, we're being left in the dust. So yes, I have been speaking to my own story, as well as the story of many other condo and townhome owners, but I'm still speaking many of the same words I'm heard from every Palisadian. Whether you own a standalone home, condo, townhome, mobile home, we all need help. We all need guidance, and we all need accountability. We feel forgotten. We feel abandoned. So please, to those in power, all we're asking is to keep your promises and help us all get back to our Pleasantville. Thank you.
All right, let's see. John Alley, are you around? Let's see if John's around. Listen, there's a couple more things that we're going to do. First of all, I was saying that there's no other celebrities here, and yet Kennedy's been here the whole time. Just come up and say hi. And I got to tell you, she listened to a long rally, and you've been a Palisades resident since 2002. So just say hello, just so they know you're here.
Hello, friends, my fellow Palisadians. I love you guys so much. We can't wait to come back home. Like all of you, we are caught up in a municipal and insurance bureaucracy. We are happy to kick the hornet's nest to get something done so we can just move back home. That's all we want. We just want to be with our friends and neighbors. Two of my best friends, they couldn't even come here today because they're facing such heartbreak. It is so difficult for them to come back to the place where they lost everything. And, you know, for those of us who moved to the Palisades, because we wanted to move to a small town, we wanted to move to be around people who would bring us a casserole when we were sick, people who would pray for us when our parents were ill, people who would pick our kids up from preschool and watch them until we were able to come back and reunite. My daughters went to Methodist preschool. You know, they were born at St. John's in Santa Monica. We have Marquez kids, and this is the only home that they've known since they were babies. And, you know, for so many of us, it's traumatic. But the thing that really lights my heart is the look I see in everyone's eyes and the hunger to rebuild and get back to the community that we know and that we love. And I know it is a slow, immoral process, but we have to keep talking about it. We have to keep screaming from the mountaintops, checking in with our neighbors, and making sure that we can reconnect here in the place that we love. We have been dispersed, but we are together in our hearts. I love you guys so much, and I will continue screaming and advocating on your behalf, on our behalf, in every way that I can. So thank you guys so much.
Okay, here's what I'd like to do now. I'd like to introduce anyone that's running for office that did not have the opportunity to speak. I'm not kidding. I think it's, I want to be fair, okay? If you're running for office, come on up and just say your name, what you're running for, and just a couple of reflections, and thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Great event. My name is 𝗧𝗛𝗘𝗬, running for Governor of California. I've been working for several years on solutions in situations like this. In fact, I was here August 12th with an actual solution to when I predicted that there was a land grab going on. It's right there on my site. I'm not trying to promote my site, just go there for the Palisades. It's 𝗕𝗨𝗥𝗡.com. It actually has a solution to prevent the land grab that I predicted last February. It's very important. I want to ask this question and I'll step off real quick. When do all these coincidences start to seem maybe like it's not poor planning, but it was perfect planning? Right? When does it start to be intent? We need to have investigations to the highest level. No politics should be involved whatsoever. I don't care about the Democrats, Republicans. It's unimportant. What's important is we get down to the bottom of it, because it's not a coincidence when it happened in Paradise, it happened in the Palisades, it happened in Lahaina, it happened in Altadena. That's never a coincidence anymore. Thank you. Federal investigations. Yes. Thank you.
My name is David Kallenberg. I'm a Siskiyou County farmer, and I am running for California governor too. I live this every year on my farm with wildfires. I'm a wildland firefighter. I run Dozer, so I know exactly what you guys have went through. I live it every year. The biggest thing here is where's the handcuffs, where's the money, and where's the accountability? And when I become governor, we're going to find out. So thank you guys.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josh 𝗧𝗛𝗘, and I'm running for United States Congress in the 32nd District against Brad Sherman. I don't know if his name came up that much. He doesn't live in this district anymore. He lives in Washington, D.C. I live in the district. And I used to, it's not something that I say a lot, but I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I used to go to, thank you. There was a huge men's meeting that would take place in that Methodist church right over there. When I found out that I was going to be the father of these two lovely boys, I was really, really scared and I didn't know what to do. And I went to this place where there were all these men, and we would go to this meeting and then we would walk to the water. And it was this restorative, amazing day. And it centered me, and it's gone. And so when I think about the Palisades, I think about how horrible it was that so many of you lost all of these things, and that I lost this thing that meant so much to me. And that's why I'm running for Congress. I'm running not just for that, but I'm running to bring back just common sense and regular, everyday politics. So thank you all very much. Have a good day.
Okay, so what did we do today? Number one, we spoke truth to power. Number two, we raised a new vision for the Palisades. And number three, we demanded some transparency and accountability. And I gotta tell you, it wasn't without a lot of feedback that I really wish didn't exist. They really don't necessarily want us to have a voice, but man, did we have a voice today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this as a citizen to be in front of you and for you guys to have given us this amount of time. It means the world. In fact, I received a lot of texts, and two of the texts I received were from my daughters who were watching. And, you know, well, you know, I promised myself I would cry, so here we go. No, I've got it. I'm composed. It's different when your kids grow up and they like you, and they see what you're doing, and it means something to them. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad I didn't do this in front of 3,000 people. You know, this takes a toll. This takes a toll. This has taken a toll on everyone. There's not a single person that went through this that's not changed. You know, we all suffered through this. All we want is truth. All we want is accountability. All we want is a real vision. And look, if they do 7 of the 10 things we asked for today, we just want to be heard. I mean, my goodness gracious, every single person here is a soul that we almost lost that day. Where is that acknowledgement? So, thank you so much to all the officers that have held. You guys stayed late. We started late because we wanted to be respectful. We didn't want to step on the toes of a beautiful memorial. But thank you guys so much for being here. You know, I don't know if we'll do this again next year, but I'll tell you, we won't do it again next year if they listen to us and they actually live up to it. So, Miriam, thank you so much for organizing, and you know what? I thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Okay, no worries.
I don't want to